Doctor, what's wrong with her?
I think she might have Ebola.
What the heck? What is Ebola?
Ebola is a virus that causes severe bleeding, organ failure, and it can lead to death. It is rare, but very deadly.
Wow, that sounds severe, but did you know that the Ebola virus can cause disease not only in human, but also in non-human primates? As of right now, there are 5 discovered species of the Ebola virus, but only 4 affect humans.
I'm a historian here to inform you on the deadly Ebola virus disease. It was previously known as the hemorrhagic fever, a very rare and deadly disease that is caused by coming into contact with the deadly virus. It first arrived in 1976 when 2 outbreaks occurred, one in Zaire and one in South Sudan. Each outbreak affected nearly 300 people but did not spread to more than that because of the remoteness of the location of the outbreaks. One outbreak occurred in a village near the Ebola River. Believe it or not, this is where the deadly disease got its name. Ebola first arrived in the United States in 1989. It appeared in monkeys that were being imported to Virginia from the Philippines. In more recent times, Ebola made an appearance in 2014 in West Africa. This was the largest and most complex outbreak since the discovery of the virus. Then in September of 2014, there was a total of 5,347 confirmed Ebola cases, along with 3,095 laboratory confirmed cases. This outbreak caused nearly 3,000 deaths. The latest Ebola outbreak occurred on May 16, 2017 in Central Africa. There were 9 suspected to obtain this virus. 3 people died from this random outbreak. There is no treatment, cure, or vaccine available currently. Scientists are developing new vaccines for this deadly virus. Don't worry, America. A cure is on its way to treat all those in danger of this virus. Now, weather is a tricky subject. Scientists aren't really sure if weather has an influence on the Ebola virus. It's really unclear. Fruit bats from the tropical rainforest with hot, humid, rainy climate are where these bats are a host for this Ebola virus. Scientists believe that that's how Ebola first emerged in humans. Bats in Africa would be hunted for a source of food. When they ate these bats, the Ebola had its chance of infecting every human who consumed these bats with the Ebola virus. Scientists state that Ebola disease is only spread by direct contact with blood or other bodily fluids, such as saliva, mucus, vomit, feces, sweat, tears, breast milk, semen, and urine. People can also be infected through contact with needles, contaminated infected circumcisions, or soiled clothing.
Hi, I'm biologist Presley Natek here to talk to you about the biological factors of Ebola. You might be asking yourself, what exactly is Ebola and how on earth does it work on our body? What type of things does it affect? Well, let's start with talking about exactly what it is. Ebola is a virus. In case you don't know what a virus is a non-living organism that is species-specific and cell-site specific. Viruses are not made of cells and cannot carry out a metabolism. However, they can reproduce, but this can only be done inside of a host cell. What is a host cell? Well, a host cell is a type of cell that harbors foreign molecules, viruses, and microorganisms. So in this case, the host cell is the housing of the Ebola virus that enters our body. Let's take a deeper look at the perspective of the Ebola virus. Basically, Ebola is a negative-stranded membrane-enveloped filovirus. A filovirus, aka filoviridae, is a form of single-stranded negative-sense RNA. The fact that it is an enveloped virus means that it takes part of the host cell membrane with it when it leaves the cell. Ebola viruses are generally 80 nanometers in diameter and 970 nanometers long. The Ebola has a sort of cylindrical or tubular shape. Let me break down for you the exact parts of the Ebola virus structure. Lipid membranes are the double-layered surface of cells. Glycoprotein is a molecule that consists of a carbohydrate plus a protein. RNA, or ribonucleic acid, is generally single-stranded and plays a role in transferring information from DNA to protein. Polymerase is any of several enzymes that catalyze the formation of a long-chain molecule by linking smaller molecular units as nucleotides with nucleic acids. It helps with the replication process of the virus. The matrix and nucleoprotein are large molecules tightly bound to form extensive networks of insoluble fibers. Ebola can affect a variety of cell types consisting of the monocyte, the eosinophil, basophil, and lymphocytes, and neutrophil, which are basically your white blood cells, liver cells, and adrenal gland cells. The Ebola virus replicates through the lytic cycle, meaning that it will take use of infected cells' energies and processes in order to produce more viruses. This allows for a very quick period of infection in a human host, as the newly created viruses are able to immediately infect new host cells after they're released from their current cell. The lytic cycle is a 5-step process. First, the virus attaches to the host cell. Then, the vironucleic acid enters the host. Next, there is replication of the new virus parts. There is assembly of new viruses. And lastly, there is a lysis or bursting of the host cell, which releases all the new viruses. Now let's talk about how Ebola works within the immune system and exactly how it affects it. To start, the virus enters the body and targets several types of immune cells that present the first line of defense against invasion. It infects dendritic cells, which normally display signals of an infection on their surface to activate T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes are the white blood cells that could destroy other infected cells before the virus replicates further. With the defective dendritic cells failing to give the right signal, the T cells don't respond to infection, and neither do the antibodies that depend on them for activation. The virus can start replicating immediately as well as very quickly. Ebola works in part by inhibiting interferon, which is a type of molecule that cells use to block or prevent further viral reproduction. Lymphocytes themselves don't become infected with the virus, but a lack of stimulation from some cells and harmful signals from other cells prevent these immune cells from putting up a fight.
Hi, I'm Ashton Britt, and I'm an environmentalist. Did you know that Ebola can stem the population in many ways? One big way it stems the population is air travel. People contract the disease and then travel to different countries, then spreading it to other people. In third world countries, many people have to travel for work or to find food, and when they do this, they can go to areas of high Ebola rates. When you do not have good living conditions in unsanitary environments, it makes it a lot easier to contract Ebola and spread it to other people, since it is contracted from bodily fluids. To keep Ebola in the population, there are many factors that go along with it. Environments with overcrowded populations make it much easier to spread to other people in your community. Countries that are very overpopulated, that do not have much medical care, will keep it in the population. Everyone will not be able to get the medical help they need because of a lack of doctors.
Hey guys, Jack Cease, the genealogist here, and today we're going to be talking about Ebola with its short-term and long-term effects as well as its drive on human adaptation and evolution. Now, Ebola short-term is a disease that breaks out with its minute cases that tend to be in more isolated areas where someone will ingest an animal that has Ebola in its bloodstream, and through cross-species transmission, they in turn will become infected with disease and they will go back and spread it to their village. This isn't that big of a deal because we've gotten really good at controlling these outbreaks and making sure they stay isolated cases. Another short-term problem is people can experience lifelong damage from contracting the disease. Some people can lose their vision or just have damage. Some have long-term intermittent headaches that are excruciating pain or permanent muscle fatigue for the rest of their life. But what about the drive on adaptation and evolution? Well, the genome for Ebola has been sequenced 99 times, and what we found from the 2014 outbreaks compared to the original outbreaks in Central Africa is over 300 mutations have occurred, changing the genome. This becomes a problem because one solution scientists used to theorize was that the human genome could be the solution to the Ebola virus because some people have contracted the disease, but they've never actually experienced symptoms, and scientists believe that was due to their genome. But the drive on evolution, we shouldn't expect much change because the Ebola virus is not an impossible, but a practically impossible disease to eradicate due to the fact we would have to eliminate certain species, population, communities, which would damage ecosystem and in turn do more damage than the Ebola virus would do in the first place. So that raises the question on genealogy for Ebola. And that's it for genealogy on Ebola.
Hi Madison, I am Dr. Presley Natek, and I am here to guide you through your path of having Ebola. Do you mind sharing your symptoms with me?
Sure, my symptoms started with fever, severe headache, joint and muscle aches, and chills and weakness. Then after a few days, they began to increase more and more started to come. These consisted of nausea and vomiting, bloody diarrhea, red eyes, rashes, chest pain, and cough, stomach pain, severe weight loss, bleeding from the eyes, and bruising.
That sounds about right for the symptoms of Ebola. After taking a look at you thoroughly, it seems like your symptoms probably started 5 to 10 days of infection. Unfortunately, there are not yet any treatments or vaccines to help your symptoms go away. So, for now, you'll have to keep you isolated from others and hydrated. This virus can impair kidney and liver function and lead to internal and external bleeding. So, for now, we have to be very careful. Here are a few tips to help prevent you from getting Ebola again. Avoid areas of high known outbreaks, wash your hands frequently, avoid bush meat, avoid contact with infected people, follow the infection control procedure rules, and don't handle remains of people who have the virus.
Thank you, Dr. Hannah. I was just wondering if it's true that the fatality rate is about 50 to 90% of the people who have it.
Yes, that is correct.
Many different solutions to help eliminate Ebola from our ecosystem, and after much thought and research, we finally came up with a solution. Instead of banning hunting of all the animals, including fruit bats, monkeys, and apes, our team decided that the best way to reduce the transmission of Ebola, or at least to cut out most of the Ebola outbreaks, we need to highly educate these poor parts of these countries that have showed many different Ebola outbreaks. We need to inform them that if they do hunt these animals and use these animals as a source of food, that they are at very high risk of contracting this deadly virus. who will be sure to inform them of all of their risks if they continue to hunt, as well as teaching them and showing them what Ebola will be like.
We were able to get in contact with Professor Bethany Johnson, an epidemics professor at UNC Charlotte. She was able to give us more information to further our understanding of the Ebola virus.
The question we focused most on asked her what was the risk of Ebola coming to North Carolina.
She told us that the chance of this happening is minimal to very low because we don't have any natural carriers of Ebola in our North American environment.
Ebola would have to be carried here on a host or infected person. Professor Johnson told us that someone infected with Ebola could travel on the plane for the entire incubation period, and no one on the plane would have to be at risk.
The reasoning for this is because the viral load must be fairly high, and then to contract it you have to ingest bodily fluids from a person with the high viral load. So unless you plan to drink the blood or vomit of someone with active Ebola, your risk of contracting it is very low. Very complicated for Ebola to transfer from person to person, so we don't have to worry too much about this virus going to North Carolina.
She has informed us that there are still many vaccines that are being tested and distributed around different places that have been infected. Antibiotics cannot be used, and unless we completely kill off all animals groups, we most likely will never be able to completely eliminate the virus from the environment.
Thanks for watching.